You're listening to the Visibly Fit podcast. Hey, I'm your host, Wendie Pett, and every week I'll give you holistic, practical solutions for everyday issues related to nutrition, healing, functional fitness, and behavior modifications. As a naturopath, fitness expert, and wellness coach for over 20 years, my goal is to empower you to reach for greater health and to rise up to your next level of living in mind, body, and spirit. You were created with greatness in mind. It's time to own it. Are you with me? Then let's dive in. Hello and welcome to this episode of Visibly Fit. I'm your host, Wendie Pett, and I have mentioned this before, but this podcast is part of the Spark Media Network, and it can be found on the Edify app. It can be found on Pray.com and KHCB streaming, and wherever you are probably listening from Spotify to iTunes, we're all over the place. So thank you so much for spending this time with me. I love spending this time with you, and maybe, just maybe, you are out for a walk today as you're tuning in, and I hope you are, because this is my favorite time to go for a walk. We are technically in the autumn season, the fall season, and so here in Minnesota, the air is a little more crisp and cool already. The evenings are dropping temp pretty good, getting into the 40s, 50s. And I love it. I love this time of year. The trees, the leaves on the trees are starting to turn a little bit. They're dropping from the trees, and I just love this season. And I didn't get to experience this kind of season growing up in Texas, so I just really cherish it. It happens. It goes so quickly this season, but I do love it. And it's important that we really do align ourselves with the season that we're in. And, Hippocrates once said, he said, look at the seasons when choosing your cures. And so we're going to talk a little bit about the seasons that we are in as it pertains to literally what season we're in. We're in the autumn fall season. If you're tuning in this live time that this episode is released, but we're also going to talk about the season that you're in your life. Like, are you in the generation of being in the sandwich generation? I have a lot of clients that are in that space where their kids are grown. They are maybe their grandparents, but they are also now in the stage where they are taking care of aging parents, and it's just a tough season for taking care of themselves. And so we want to talk a little bit about that. Or you might be in a season where you've got young kids. And so how does that look for taking care of yourself? Because that's a whole nother season where you're still caring for another human being, right? And it takes a lot of time, energy, effort, and you have to be intentional. So we're going to take a look at that. We're going to also take a look at the season that we're in regarding foods and best foods to eat for this season and why. So let's just kind of talk about this, because I am getting more and more comments. I actually even had a text from a past patient, and she said, "Oh my goodness, my husband is not doing well. He's in like the latter stages of dementia, so early onset Alzheimer's." And she said basically if she gets in a shower that day, she feels like it's a pretty good day. And so that's tough. That's tough, whether it's your spouse you're caring for or aging parents, or maybe you have a disabled child or something like that, right? Where it does take a lot of time and it takes a lot of energy, and it can drain you emotionally. So what do you do? What do you do in that season of your life? How do you take care of yourself so that you really can care for those people that you love so much in the season that you're in? So for the sandwich generation, and for the woman that I mentioned that is taking care of her husband, I would say you have to fit yourself in. You have to take the time to take a shower. Hygiene is important. And while that doesn't even hardly seem doable because of all the demands on you, it might mean that you set your alarm and get up a little bit earlier than the one you are caring for so that you can get in that shower and start your day off right and feel good about yourself. But as far as like working out, right? I know you're probably busy either, making meals and then cleaning up after and just caring for all in all different areas depending on your personal situation. So how do you fit yourself in? I would say you have to be intentional and get creative. So while you're in the room with that person that you're caring for, you might even be in a hospital room, at someone's bedside right now. I just want you to know that we want to eliminate excuses. And while this is maybe a tough season of caring for someone, you have to care for yourself because we want to make sure that you have a long life and that your life is full of energy and vitality. So what do you do? Well, you do things like march in place, right? You do things like punch outs. You do things like orchestra conductors. And if you're watching on YouTube, I'm going to demonstrate. It's basically just how it sounds. You lift your arms up over your head and then out to the side of your body really quickly. So it's up and out really fast, okay? And you do that for 30 to 60 seconds and your heart will start to beat pretty rapidly. And it's doing simple things like that that can make a big difference, not just in your physical how you look, but also how you feel. You'll start to release some dopamine and serotonin, and it'll help you, with those happy hormones, and help you navigate the season that you're in a better way, in a more stable way. So maybe you have some stairs that are nearby. You can just go run up and down stairs. You can obviously do the Visibly Fit techniques that I share. And if you are listening for the first time and you don't know what I'm talking about, go to wendiepett.com. That's WENDIEPETT.com. And you can grab those 7x11 exercises that I talk a lot about, the Visibly Fit exercises, and they are amazing. They help to build muscle, shed fat, and they don't put stress on your joints, tendons, or ligaments, and that you can do them anywhere, anytime. So those would be great to bring in to your space if you are like, I can't break away. I can't even put on workout clothes. I mean, I can't even afford to really break a sweat too much because I can't run off and go take another shower, whatever. Get creative, but still plug yourself in to the day. You have to be intentional and you have to make yourself one of your most important appointments. And while you may not even have the drive to do that, find an accountability partner, honestly, whether it's someone like myself, a coach or a friend or somebody that is like, hey, have you done your workout today? Hey, have you had a shower today? Hey, are you caring for yourself today? Have you had food? Are you drinking enough water? All these things are so important as you're caring for others. So what season are you in, and are you being intentional about taking care of yourself even in a season where you might be caring for others? It's so very important, okay? So, we are in the autumn and the fall season, but it is a season where, you probably think of, I know I do, and it's because these items are in season, from pumpkins to, root vegetables to squash to broccoli to Brussels sprouts to pears and potatoes and all those kind of things, lentils. Those kind of foods are they make you feel warm and fuzzy, and they're hearty, right? They're really hearty kind of items to eat. And so our body really craves those kinds of foods during this season. And so listen to your body, right? And it's so important to eat in season, because when you're eating based on the season that we're in, you're going to get the maximized nutrients from those items because they're going to be grown in your area. They're not going to be shipped from who knows where. And so they're not, picked early and therefore their nutrients are lost because they have picked those fruits or vegetables early because they're not in season. But they will be dense, they'll be nutrient dense, and it will help you through the season of the darker days, the more cold and flu season that we're in. All of that, when you're bringing in spices that match the season, when you're bringing in the foods that match the season, like God really knew what he was doing, right? So we have to pay more attention to that. I think it's so easy to, just go to the grocery store and get whatever we want because that's, we're spoiled, if you want to know the truth. But we have not had grocery stores back in the day. I mean, the first actual supermarket started in 1946. So before that, what were we doing? We were, farming as a community or as a family. We were canning. We were preparing for the next season. Well, right now we don't have to prepare for the next season because again we're spoiled and we just go right to the grocery store and get whatever we want to eat that day, right? And so we don't even really think about eating based on the seasons and what will grow in that season. So I think it's a kind of a new way for us to think, but it's an old way of doing things. And really it's the way that God intended. So I would like to challenge you and myself too, to not go after the things that maybe we're craving, like, ooh, I could really use a strawberry in November or December, right? Like that's not strawberry season. I mean, can you have strawberries? Sure. But I'm just saying go after different fruits. Go after pears. Go after apples. Go after cranberries. Go after the things that are in season for that time because your body will thank you. Again, it's different nutrients and your body is in need of that. In fact, I'm a big fan of cruciferous vegetables anyway all year long, but especially in the wintertime. Cruciferous vegetables, they have two nutrients that are derived only from cruciferous vegetables, and it's sulforaphane and diindolylmethane. And these two nutrients, again, they're found in broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, kale. These kind of items, they have been known to actively help and diminish cancer. They have been known to attack cancer cells, and that's what we want. We want these healing kinds of foods in our repertoire of things that we're eating, and not always eating the same old thing, right? And if you're like, yeah, you know what, I just really don't like to eat cruciferous vegetables, don't really love them. Well, I want to encourage you to learn to love them. So what does that mean? Does it mean maybe you cook them differently? Maybe you saute them. Maybe you bring in some nutritional yeast to put on top of them. It gives it a little cheesy flavor. Plus, it's going to give you some added B12 benefits. How can you make it palatable until your body is like, ooh, I actually do like cruciferous vegetables. Maybe you're eating them raw. Maybe you're eating them steamed and cooked. Maybe you're eating them, baked or broiled. But choose a way that your body will start to learn to love them. Okay. Maybe you're, maybe you're putting them in your, I don't know, not really your juicer. I mean, actually I do. I take broccoli stems, the big broccoli stem that people throw away, and I'll juice it. So you can juice anything. So however you want to attempt to eat winter vegetables is going to be important. I love stews. I love soups during the winter and autumn, fall months. And cozied up next to a fire. There's something about that is so healing too. When you've got a lot of broth kind of dishes that you're eating. I use low sodium vegetable broth. but it's very healing to the body. And so, again, especially those cruciferous vegetables, adding those in, they've got healing abilities to fight cancer. And so I can't stress that enough. Bring that in. So regarding just the season that we're in and the foods, it's important to just really just be disciplined with it, right? And have an appreciation for trying new things. Like I love acorn squash, and I'll do a stuffed acorn squash and have a salad on the side or something like that, or butternut squash soup. Oh my goodness, yum yum! And I actually did just buy some butternut squash to make some soup for some guests that are coming over soon. So, yeah, it's a great, simple thing to make, and yet it's exactly what your body wants. And I always have a salad with it, and it's a perfect meal. And you can make big quantities of it and even freeze most of your soups and stews. So that's a good thing. But eating raw every now and then is really good. I mean, obviously the salads are important, but eating raw will help give you those live enzymes that will help with your gut microbiome, with the healthy bacteria in your gut. Not everyone can do the raw cruciferous, but you could do other raw vegetables, right? So do raw when you can, and cook what you can't, right? And you'll start to feel better and feel more energy by eating foods that offer energy, especially in this day and age where people are, just going to processed foods or going through drive-throughs just because of people being busy. It's really just time to prep, right? And be intentional. Just like I was talking about with exercise, you also have to think about the season you're in with the foods that you're making. So if you're in that sandwich generation and you're like, oh my gosh, I don't even have time to cook for myself, batch cook. Batch cook and make it for you and the one you're caring for. Or batch cook on one day that will allow you to have your meals, you and your spouse or you and your kids or whatever, so you don't have to think about it too much for the entire week. And then that way you can do your caregiving and not stress out about what am I going to eat? Or maybe you forget to eat, right? You might even have to set an alarm on your phone to remind you to eat. Yes, I know. Or to drink water, because you just might be in that space of thinking about someone else more than yourself. And there's nothing wrong with thinking about others, but you have to think about yourself in order to care for others in your best ability. So there's that. What else about the seasons regarding food? I think we got the food. Sweet potatoes. I'm a big sweet potato fan. Obviously, potatoes in general, turnips, beets. Let me try to think. Did I write any down? Let's see. Of course, onions, lentils. Oh, hello, pumpkin. Pumpkin. Yeah, it's pumpkin spice time, right? Now, speaking of pumpkin spice, don't run off to wherever you go to get your foo-foo coffees and start diving into those pumpkin spice coffees. Oh my goodness. There's so many calories and sugar lurking in those foo-foo coffees. Don't do it. Don't. If you're craving like pumpkin spice, just get pumpkin spice and do you can make a tea. You can add pumpkin spice to your butternut squash soup. You can do all kinds of things. You can make even some healthy desserts with pumpkin spice, but pumpkin spice on baked apples. There's all kinds of things you can do to get that pumpkin spice fix without getting those toxic and unhealthy calories, right? That's something that we don't want to go after. And I know you're probably like, yes, I do. Yeah, I wait all year long for this pumpkin spice latte. Well, do some homework on that and check out the fat, check out the sugars, check out the toxins that are in most of the ones that you purchase, and allow that to be your dictating factor on if you choose that or not. But just remember that your body is a gift. Your body is something to care for. And just like you're caring for maybe your aging parents or a loved one, you want to be in your healthiest, best self so people don't have to care for you. And I know you're like, but wait, Wendie, it's just a pumpkin spice latte. Yeah, I know. But one pumpkin spice latte leads to another, which leads to the next item on the list that you crave around that season, which leads to maybe a holiday favorite, right? Because we're eventually heading into the holidays, and it's so much more of a neurological association around certain foods and tastes and smells than it is really a real craving, because you're really craving, and I've talked about this before on the podcast, but you're really craving maybe a moment. Maybe it's a time that you remember with your family that is around that smell, that taste, that certain dish that was made. And it's really not the item itself. You just miss that person, or you just miss that season of the age and stage that you were all in when you were enjoying that pumpkin spice latte or whatever it is. So recognize that, all right? Recognize that, and just really pause before you go and buy the thing or make the thing that you're going to regret eating or drinking later. Okay. And if you're like, no, I'm not going to regret it, it's fine, I've made up my mind, then hey, go for it. That's your choice. But just know that your health is your true wealth, and one unhealthy habit leads to the next unhealthy habit. And usually those things that we crave aren't the items themselves. It's either a missing nutrient or mineral, or it's you're missing a certain moment, a certain season with a loved one, or a time in your life. So if you can unpack that a little bit more, it might give you permission to say, you know what, I don't need that. Instead, I'm going to have, I don't know, a peppermint tea, or whatever it is. You're going to find a replacement, and something that is really good, something that you enjoy. But actually, I just had something the other day and it was so good. Is ticino, and I've suggested this to my clients before, and it's chicory root. There's different flavors, but I had, and there's dandelion root, and it's all healthy tea, but it has, is like a vanilla nut was one of them. And then I think the other one is caramel. Oh my goodness. Like that's good. And it's healthy. It's good for you. So find a healthy replacement that feels like, okay, I'm not cheating myself, but I'm going to feel good about this healthy new choice that I'm making in this season, so that I don't continually go down this spiral or go into this habit that I do each and every year around pumpkin spice lattes. And I keep using that because you're going to hear the advertisements, you're going to see it on Instagram, you're going to see it everywhere. So it seems to be the thing. So what is it for you? And how can you find that healthy swap in this season? And if you are in a season of caring for others, I just want you to know that, again, God does see you, and he knows your heart, and he sees that the love you have for that person in your life, your parents or your spouse or your child. And he loves you. He loves seeing you serve and help others. But he definitely wants you to serve and love and care for yourself, okay? Because it is an act of worship. It's a way in which we can give back and love God, because we are created in his image. And it's just a way to honor him when we honor our own health. And in this season that we're in, literally, as we are in the autumn fall season, it tends to be the season where more colds, flus, pandemics, if we want to go there, they start to break out, right? And it's because people tend to not make healthy choices. They're not outside in the sunshine. They're lacking vitamin D. They're not moving as much. They're sitting indoors. They're dehydrated. So thinking of all those things as you're moving into this season will give you, hopefully, just like turning on the light bulb, like, okay, that's right. I need to drink more water, even though I don't necessarily feel like I need to drink more water. And I need to be intentional about moving my body, even though I don't feel like getting outside because it's a little bit cooler. And I need to, eat foods that are in this season, even though maybe I don't feel like eating broccoli because it's not my favorite. I'm going to remember that it has active nutrients, and it's the only active nutrients in cruciferous vegetables that will activate and kick out cancer. Starting to remember those things will help you stay on track and choose healthy each and every time. But you do have to be intentional. You do have to schedule yourself in, and you do have to know yourself well. Because if you're the type that is like, okay, I'm going to go to the grocery store and I'm going to get this, and that. It's on the list, but all of a sudden you see an end cap that has, what am I going to say? That's right. Pumpkin spice lattes. No, I'm just kidding. An end cap will not, but it may just have pumpkin spice. That's okay. Grab it. But if it has something that will tempt you, then maybe you don't go to the grocery store right now. Maybe you order and have the groceries delivered to your home. Okay. That's just a thought. If the temptation is that much. So anyway, know yourself well, get creative with your foods, try new things, and you might be surprised at what you actually like. But give yourself grace also with the season that you're in, because none of us are perfect, and you won't be either, but just doing the very best you can. If you can look at yourself in the mirror and say, you know what, I really am doing my very best and taking care of myself in this season, then that's your best, and that's all you can ask for. So just making sure you are stepping up and rising up to the occasion to take good care of yourself so you can care for your loved ones. That's going to be important. So, all right, well, bless you as you are hopefully, like I mentioned, taking a walk. Maybe you're still walking. Maybe now you are running. Yes. Yeah, maybe you've picked up the pace. Maybe you're taking little sprints here and there, and then you stop to walk. I don't know, but definitely challenge yourself. Challenge yourself in your workouts. Challenge yourself in how you're eating. Challenge yourself in how you are leveling up and caring for yourself so that you can level up and caring for others. So make it a great day. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Visibly Fit. Next episode you do not want to miss. It's all about breathing, the power of the breath, and how can you make your lungs healthier and stronger. Well, you do not want to miss this episode. So, we'll catch you same time, same place right here next week on Visibly Fit. But yeah, don't miss it. It's all about breathing.
Well, that's a wrap for today's show, so thank you so much for tuning in. I love spending this time with you. To learn more and get more free resources, just head on over to wendiepett.com, and thank you in advance for sharing this episode and this podcast, following and subscribing, not only to this podcast, but finding me on social media, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, wherever you are, I'm probably there too. Until next week and our next podcast time together, make it a Visibly Fit day.